beard, he was a douche. So when I see this, I think about how he has a terrible relationship with his daughter, who's Angelina Jolie, how she literally did not want to carry the last name Voight because of him and because of how terrible of a father he was. I don't know if our mics were open when we were talking over the video, but
no.
One word that I pointed to was projection. It is all projection, all the time. Heist, impeach, crimes, hateful. Bro, look in the freaking mirror every once in a while. And here's the last thing. He pays people to help him with this. There's a team behind him, literally behind the camera, who have to shut up, sip their coffee and be like, you're doing great. He's reading off a teleprompter. This is his new entertainment vehicle. But I also hearken back to what access does to people. Because he went and visited Trump a few times in the White House. He was shown, if you bend the knee to me, I will help you. I will provide for you. I will take you to places you've never been before. And I think that also attracts a lot of people as well.
Yeah, I mean, the attraction to power and some kind of access or I guess visibility. He wants to be seen and noticed. And yeah, I guess he's getting his point, but he's destroying whoever he thought he was being portrayed as. I want to go through a couple last comments. I know we're out of time, but as we wrap up this Friday show, I do want to point out one thing. Brooke Marks did point out over on Twitch, I've seen JR at the beach, can confirm he's Aquaman, confirmation. More on the Sharks, because I really like these
Brooke
comments,
Marks?
You guys. Look it up. Natural Born Kyler 2020 says, they don't even want to eat us. We taste disgusting. It's always a test bite. Hunger Games 1989, punch them in the gills as they won't be able to breathe. These are shark tips for you guys. Also, B Coats over on YouTube Super Chat says that old school Raptors hat is sick. Thank you. Jamal G, the only sharks I'd be watching is Shark Tank on ABC. I agree. Not sure says Jaws, I think is the scariest movie for that reason. Most scared everyone out of the water. Absolutely. And lastly, F8L Flaw Dragon says, I'm such a J-lister. Oh, that you are. Are you guys gonna be J-listers? Are you the watchers? It is a Friday. We've wrapped up at least on somewhat of a happy note. Thank you, Rick, for joining us. Thank you guys for being there with us. I hope you guys enjoy your weekend, long 4th of July weekend. We're gonna see you guys on Tuesday though, but next, the damage report. Thanks, Rick. We'll see you guys later.
Who's Brooke Marks?
What's up, everybody? Not a happy Friday, but it is Friday nevertheless. There is a 3-day weekend. We're celebrating America's birthday. Does it deserve a cake this year? No, it definitely doesn't. That doesn't matter. We're here on the Damage Report. I'm Francesca Fiorentini in for John Iadarola, who will be back on Tuesday. Again, the solemn day of mourning for our country, July 4th. But thankfully with me, as always on a Friday, Brett Erlich is here. Brett?
It's great to be here. Thank you, Francesca, for having me. I know you're sitting in for John. You have a lot of power. You could have wielded it to smite me, and you didn't, and I'm appreciative of that. I do want to give some thanks because I did make a run to the TYT offices. Blue Lizard Guts. I got your Funko Pop.
Whoa!
This is me in a giraffe onesie. And this is a specific moment where I was sitting in, I wasn't wearing a onesie at the time, but the reason I've got all the wires around me is I was sitting in for Dr. Richie in the early days, and his intro song is so dab worthy that I dabbed, got my hand caught in my microphone wire, pulled my microphone completely out of the socket, and was not able to be heard for the first minute and a half of the show as I flailed.
But we all knew that because we follow those moments of TYT. Can you do the full rotation on that? If you guys are listening on the podcast, you have to at least, that is gorgeous. Blue Lizard Guts, it's amazing. That's so cute.
So good.
Oh, you're every dude from Burning Man. Look at that.
Shout out to Austin for the TYT flask.
Oh my God.
That John allowed me to have from the box. And JR does know that his name was on one and mine wasn't. I get it. And then last shout out to South Norte Mexican Mule Cocktail, which I'll be drinking in my happy half hour coffee mug this morning, because there are no rules. There just are no rules.
That's amazing. I love that. Tell us how it is. Give us an update. I want to live vicariously through you. I am gestating right now and not drinking.
The worst part is about being pregnant, and let me tell you what it is.
Sure, no, please, cis het male, tell me.
Yeah. So, ladies, just so you know, the worst part about being pregnant, or the most interesting fact I've learned about being pregnant is you're not supposed to drink at all in the early days, but no one notices that you're pregnant. So you can be out there just ruining the whole process all you want. But when you're more pregnant, you're allowed to have more alcohol. The problem is that everyone sees that you're pregnant drinking wine and they give you crap for it, even though you're within the allowable amount.
Yep, absolutely. That is true. That being said, also ironically, people who don't know they're pregnant yet, i.e. me, when I drank way too much at a friend's birthday party and was like, damn, why do I have an extra hangover? And oops. Anyway, looks like the unborn made it to this far, so knock on wood. She's just going to be a raging wino. With that, we've got a lot to get into. Some Trump updates, Britney Griner updates, Republicans staying mysteriously silent, even though they themselves are so-called pro-life, anti-choice, but have advocated for abortions for their mistresses. Finally, all that CRT finally coming home to roost in education systems across the nation. But right now, your job is liking the stream, it's sharing the stream, it's letting people know that you're listening. We will be reading comments, so send us all your super chats. And let's get into this first clip.
Because, some whack job can say this stuff and get away with it, and other things that I wanted guns at my rally. Okay, now I'm speaking. Why would I want guns? I don't want people standing with guns in my rally.
I don't remember seeing any AR-15s at the Capitol.
Well, she wasn't complaining. And the other thing about this woman, she wanted to work for me after January 6th. She was a big Trump fan. She wanted to work for me in Florida. And we chose not to bring her down because I got very bad things. I hardly knew her.
There we go. That's the one. Pull the I hardly knew her out from whenever a woman accuses you or goes on record with all the heinous things you've done. And of course, if you didn't guess by now, Donald Trump is talking about Cassidy Hutchinson, who testified earlier in the week to the January 6th committee. And he's speaking there with Newsmax. And he's saying, oh, she wanted to work with me, and also I don't know her and who. And anyway, I don't even think she worked for us. She didn't have a lanyard. And of course, you've got the Newsmax host there egging him on, like he was like, I don't want anyone armed, even though we heard on the record Cassidy Hutchinson say that he was mad that more people weren't being let in to the demonstration, the Stop the Steal rally on the 6th. Because they were armed. He says, I didn't want them armed. And then the Newsmax host just going, yeah, it's not like there were AR-15, just a few Glocks.
Yeah, he's like, I was there. I don't remember there being anything. We were terrible. We were all lying on your behalf, Mr. President. But what a great journalist to push back. That's his follow-up question. You're right. But like, here's the thing. He says, she wanted to work for me, right? And he didn't hire her. But my rejoinder to that is, buddy, like, there is no world in which her testifying against Donald Trump as a Republican operative essentially makes it more likely she's ever gonna get a job.
Right.
This is all a risk. This is way harder for her to get a job after she's gone out and done the opposite of what this Newsmax host has done. There's the proof there. Yep. A no-name moron can get any job anywhere in conservative news so long as he doesn't do what Hutchinson did. And everyone from the Newsmax host to Ted Cruz, who Donald Trump said his wife's ugly and his dad killed Kennedy, are still bending over forwards for this guy.
Absolutely. She's the perfect person who has absolutely everything to lose, and also someone who, hey, maybe they should have kept a little bit closer if they really wanted to make sure that no one was talking. But there she was helping clean up Donald Trump's, like baby thrown across the room, plate of food with the valet, and she's an afterthought. She's just there. She's a fly on the wall, supposedly. She'll be with us. She's a she, And I guess they didn't take care of her, and she has clearly more scruples and more morals and more of a compass than anybody else. And look, some folks were saying, oh, she's gonna be on The View, she's gonna be on MSNBC, CNN. I don't know. I think she probably just wants to work for someone like Liz Cheney. You know what I mean? She's probably just a conservative who wants to be a bureaucrat.
And let's not throw out the thing that makes sense as well. Maybe she didn't want you to eliminate democracy in America. That's one of the tricks of Trump, is he throws up so much dust and so much ridiculousness, which is in line with an authoritarian takeover. I don't care what side of the political spectrum you're on. Authoritarians do this move all the time and become indistinguishable from the character, the caricature that they portray the other side as being, but right. They just be ridiculous. And along the way, they try to strong arm people and they create state media like Trump is attempting to do with Newsmax.
And yet he threw them under the bus. We don't have this clip, but I don't necessarily encourage you to watch it. He threw them and Fox News under the bus, calling them out for pulling back on the election lie content because they were afraid of Dominion voting systems. It was rich, very, very good stuff. But let's watch a little bit more about what he had to say about Cassidy Hutchinson.
And I said, well, if she's no good, I got somebody called up, numerous people, that she's not good. I won't say why that she's not good, but plenty of reasons.
Why?
I'm not going to say that, but I'm going to say that she was not respected by the people in the White House. So they thought she shouldn't go down. I was going down to Florida with a group of people, great group of people, patriots, and her name was thrown out there and they said, stay away from her. They said bad things about her. And then I see her and I hardly know who she is. And then I see this woman getting up And she's making up stories like one after another. But the craziest of all was that I tried to commandeer, I think they used that word, I tried to commandeer a car with Secret Service agents telling them to take us down to the Capitol. It was totally false, and that a person can get away with it. And then I watch the Times and the Washington Post, and I get reviews on MSDNC and CNN. They hardly even talk about the fact that she's been totally discredited.
Has she been totally discredited? We'll get into that in a second. But so there he is. I hardly knew her. This is like the top aide to Mark Meadows, your chief of staff. She was there in a lot of these rooms. Otherwise, she wouldn't have had so much to divulge. So clearly, someone's lying. And that little upturn of the eyes, that's totally false. I didn't want to go to the Capitol and reign over my incredible mess and try to force my way onto the floor. Him next to like dude with the buffalo horns, I can't.
That's our thumbnail for the January 6th hearing coverage that you've done, is him next to the guy with the J6 horns.
Yeah.
For when we do the live, because that's what happened. And so I think that the story about, so I did the live coverage when they did the hearing with Cassidy Hutchinson, and my jaw was all on the floor more than when Pam and Tommy just burst in the door, because it was an insane ass testimony.
Yeah.
And it was all so, it was not very difficult for me to imagine this being true. And it is ridiculous that he wanted to come back. Now, everything else she said in there is more relevant to any legal recourse that the Justice Department or the Democrats might have in going after Trump, because the rest, and so this was just an awesome story. That underscores a pre-existing narrative anyway for Donald Trump, one that he himself feeds into every day, that he is a giant baby. How long has this narrative for Donald Trump or characterization of him been around? As long as the giant baby balloon that is been in parades outside the White House and in other countries, he is a giant man baby. I find it difficult to believe they tried to commandeer the vehicle. Why? Because there's no way that guy knows how to drive a car. He's not a person. He can't go to the grocery store. How much is a banana, Michael? $10. He's that detached.
Yeah. Logan Roy's yelling at him, bore on the floor. How much is a carton of milk right now? And he's like, I don't know, no idea. That's every Succession reference.
They're the same show, character by character.
Shmush. And actually, to that point of what did he commandeer the wheel? There are multiple reasons why there could be doubt on that account. Again, we've just detailed for you this young, I believe 26, maybe 25-year-old former staffer to Mark Meadows, having so much to lose from this testimony. I mean, yes, she was asked, she could have been, she was subpoenaed. Like, she can't necessarily defy that. She doesn't have friends in high places, clearly. But she has so much to lose by testifying. And why would she lie? Why would she lie? Where's the money in lying right now? But there's some people who are casting doubt on whether or not Trump could have grabbed the wheel, but for different reasons than you might think. So turns out a former Secret Service agent has claimed that Trump is too fat to have reached for the steering wheel. Now, it's unclear whether this is the same Secret Service agent that wanted to testify or part of the Secret Service that wants to testify to the January 6th committee. But one Secret Service agent did say it wouldn't be impossible, but it would be unlikely that the 6'3", nearly 250-pound Trump, who the agent noted, quote, is not the most agile human being, could pull off the move. And then they continue, Trump is not a little guy, right? And the space to actually be able to lunge towards the wheel is not that big, the former agent said. Speaking on Background to Insider, I don't mean to sound disparaging to the former president, but just his girth would prevent him from actually getting to the steering wheel. Now, I don't ever want to hear Trump and girth in the same sentence, so let's put that aside. But I do want to say that I don't think her testimony, and Brett, you were watching it live and covering it live, her testimony didn't say that he actually grabbed the steering wheel, which yes, arguably would be a big, long maneuver, difficult, you'd have to be fast, but just attempted to, and then his wrist was grabbed. So both of these things could be true.
Yeah, and still, like, it's a fun story, but the main thing that they're trying to do with these hearings is connect a bunch of dots.
Yeah,
and there is no bigger, more girthy dot than when Trump said to the deputy attorney general, just say that the results of the election were corrupt and let me and the Republican politicians do the rest.
Yes.
Okay. So that is the conspiracy. That's the heart of the conspiracy. I mean, Sean Hannity's trying to discredit everything. No wonder Sean Hannity was writing texts to the president saying, this is bad, this is horrible. Fox News is trying to get you to focus on anything else. And they're grateful that there is a story about ketchup on the wall and whether a baby president can reach the steering wheel with his big boy arms.
Yes.
And I don't think that makes him look good anyway. And the people to whom this makes Trump look good are not in play politically at all.
No.
I think she's a good-looking person on TV telling a convincing, compelling story. And sadly, that's what most of America responds to.
Absolutely. And it's true that sometimes you need these anecdotes to get people to pay attention, but that leading even that day, let's say that these three pretty like these wild allegations and these wild stories, the ketchup, the I don't mind that people are armed, and the trying to grab the steering wheel so that he could go to the Capitol. Of those three, even not just Fox, but obviously if and when they cover it, but most mainstream outlets are leading with what? The ketchup. The least like awful thing about it, the most ridiculous, just a stupid little, he threw food at the wall. That makes utter sense. But trying to get to the Capitol and the implications of that, to me, are much bigger, to say nothing of really the point that you made, which was, hey, attorneys general, just say it what looks fishy and we'll do the rest. In fact, me and SCOTUS will do the rest.
Right. He's knowingly lying to all of America and soliciting others in positions of power in the Department of Justice to misrepresent the truth, to lie to America. That's part one. That's motive. That is knowingly. And despite whatever Ben Shapiro says, he doesn't have intent to eat a ham sandwich. That's all BS. He absolutely had intent to do that. And then the rest of the hearings he knew there were armed people for an armed insurrection, rebutting testimony that this was just unarmed people doing whatever. And he had plans, that's elsewhere in the Hutchinson testimony, that Trump had plans to go with the armed insurrectionists to the Capitol and asked the Secret Service to do advance work on two possibilities. One, speaking outside the Capitol, and two, speaking inside the Capitol with the protesters / rioters / insurrectionists. This is all come to light as a result of these hearings. And despite how much Trump wants you to say, no, don't pay attention to that, whether this presents itself in attack ads from here to the time Trump runs for president, or in additional subpoenas, which it has, raids of people's houses who are involved, or it's going to come to light, and it needs to come to light because all of right-wing media is trying to keep it under wraps.
Absolutely. I mean, she's brave as hell, and now we know just how close we were to a real coup. I was grateful for JR to kind of like hit me to that, as I'm thinking, him standing in front of everybody, that could have done it. Like him forcing his way in. Imagine how much harder these nut jobs would have fought if he had done that. And they fought real hard already. Let's turn now to this story real quick. Not real quick, but there's an update in the Britney Griner case. Britney Griner, again, WNBA player, currently being held in Moscow in Russia, where she was playing basketball. She's going now to trial. And she's going to trial on drug charges that she potentially had THC on her person, and she could face 10 years in prison, and yet somehow we're not talking about this American who's being held hostage, who's being imprisoned. But Griner was recently seen arriving at the Khimki City Court in handcuffs shortly after noontime in Moscow on Friday, wearing a Jimi Hendrix t-shirt and sneakers without laces, which are forbidden in Russian jails. 3 employees of the US Embassy, including the Deputy of Chief of Mission Elizabeth Rood, were present in the courtroom. Griner was seated in a cage with a Ziploc bag of cookies and a bottle of mineral water. She was able to speak to reporters, and she did tell Reuters that she was finding detention hard because she was unable to speak Russian, and she was unable to fully keep up with physical fitness, doing only general exercises such as stretching. Now it's unclear like what Moscow wants to get out of this. It feels like they're not getting it, considering how little media attention is being shown on her case. At the same time, there could be things happening behind the scenes that we don't know about. US experts are basically saying like this is a show trial. This is a negotiation tactic, and yeah, she's gonna be sentenced. So for the most part, the trial, in heavy quotes, will just be a judge reading the prosecutor's case on file into the record. At some point, prosecutors will call witnesses, and the judge will often lead the questioning. Sometimes the prosecutors will sit there like potted plants, one expert said, someone who's familiar with the Russian judicial system. Griner, like most defendants, is expected to spend the trial in a sealed barred cage. I feel like we remember that from the Pussy Riot trials and others. There is no jury. Russia uses juries only for the most serious felonies, and there are typically no surprises in court. Only the most serious felonies, THC found on her person, and she's facing 10 years. Is she gonna get acquitted? Well, doesn't look like it. 99% of Russian criminal cases end in a conviction, and that's without the political factors in her case. Russian judges tend to be forced out of office if they acquit too many defendants. Experts say Russia likely would require Griner to admit guilt as part of any deal to release her. A not guilty plea and a strong defense could lead the Russian authorities to make her life more miserable in the meantime. It's obviously awful. Just a quick update on her family. This is from Raphael Warnock, Senator Raphael Warnock, writing, Britney Griner called her wife 11 times from a Russian prison to no avail because US Embassy's officials weren't manning the phone line. This is already a terrible situation for Britney and her family, and the error is unacceptable. State Department, we need answers. You've got a senator adding the State Department being like, what's going on? Why aren't we making it easier for her even to communicate? And I'm sure if there's a reason, which there might be a reason, let us know. Brett, thoughts on how the hell this might play out?
I mean, what a terrifying situation to be in if you're Britney Griner. Like, you had a little bit of weed, and it's funny. It's just like in LA, or in the US, where like they're like, all right, we want to arrest this person. They probably have weed on them. Let's go arrest them based on that, and then it turns into, before you know it, decades of your life, depending on the situation.
Yeah,
that's one thing that's horrifying. She's trying to call her wife. Having a wife, if you're Britney Griner, to the Russian government is a huge no-no as well, because they're so fiercely anti anything that the evangelical right wing in America is for, is against. So that's the other thing. And then just the imagery of, as much as there's a lot to be desired in our judicial system, but the imagery of keeping the accused in a jail cell already is just insane.
Yeah.
And the imagery itself, it's just like, oh, we've been reading about a lot of news like that. As they show her getting walked in, this is the imagery that they want to get to the United States. I think that's a large reason of why we show it. We got her. You want to come and get her? Well, what are you willing to trade for it? Right. That's what the Russians are all about. But just watching the news this week, it's like I feel like a lot of America felt like they themselves were in a courtroom in a giant cage as justices told them what rights they didn't get to have anymore, and there was nothing they could do about it in their defense.
Totally, and on by the same token, I'm looking at it and going like, oh, this is the judicial system that the United States wants. they want to roll back all the rights, including the right of someone to be, innocent until proven guilty. So yeah, unshackled when they're sitting down there, even if they're detained, but they are being able to plead their case in court. Actually being able to plead your case in court here in Russia, again, the sort of gold standard for the right in this country, that in Hungary, unable to plead her case. I don't imagine it's likely she's going to be sentenced to 10 years, but damn it, people like Warnock, people like everyday folks like ourselves, we need to keep the pressure on. If it means adding the State Department on Twitter, let's do it. And obviously let it not be lost on anyone that the fact that she is a gay Black athlete in America has a lot to do with maybe how we've been ignoring her important case. So hearts out to her and love out to her family. We got to take our first break, but there's so much more on the other side of this.
Roar, I am a dragon who's red.
Dana Manning, TYT member says, Brett and Franny, this ought to be good. Oh yeah, except I don't have the Moscow Mule or the Mexican Mule.
It's the Mexican Mule. It's delicious. I was like, oh, it's not carbonated. It's not supposed to be. It's tequila. It's ginger beer and fresh lime, but the beer doesn't always get as carbonated. It's really, really good. And Dana Manning, we do have Game Busters tonight. We're not quite sure what it's going to be, but Dana Manning, just so you know, Francesca, is on my poopy list because Dana beats me in murder trivia every week. And I get real competitive. I'm still mad at Nando for not knowing as many music questions as I needed to him the one time we went to trivia together. So I get really fired up.
With music questions. I'm like, you play like there's like that music Wordle thing where you listen for like
Hurdle.
To like, yeah, Hurdle for 3 seconds. I always get it. Very good. You got to bring me to the pub. God, I haven't gone to a pub quiz in forever. Lynn, TYT member, says, don't worry, Francesca, I did that too before I knew I was pregnant. It all worked out well. Yeah, I drank a whole bottle of wine. Your kid is excelling. Cool. Naughtiest Maximus, Brett and Fran, your coverage of the Cassidy Hutchinson hearing was excellent. Watching you two excellent and sharp comedians. Tag teaming this orange orangutan is better than WWE wrestling any day. I gotta say, I had a lot of fun covering that hearing. I think we got really good hearings, you and I.
Yeah, we did. We got the good days, so that's awesome.
Yeah,
they've all been really good. I think they gave it to a news producer to be like, let's just take them through 2 hours of what we think they need to know about, and then call it a day. We don't need to do it for 5 hours one day. You got to keep it feeding the news cycle.
Absolutely, and it is interesting, right? Remember we talked about how much hate that Cassidy's getting, and the fact that they didn't announce it into the very last minute. I'm sure you've talked about this, but it's because the amount of death threats that a young woman would receive, the amount of, the amount of threats she's probably receiving now. Again, everything to lose. And there are people with way more dirt on Donald Trump that are mum because they see a political future.
Not to mention the other side of it where Trump is offering to pay the legal fees of people essentially pretending that wouldn't influence whether they would rat on him or not. Right. It's so stupid.
But you've got Rudy selling, flip-flops now because he can't pay his legal. Trump owes him hella money.
That's the thing. It's so dumb. I know that for the security reasons, usually they have the witnesses come in and sit down first, and then Benny Thompson and Liz Cheney come in. But this was flipped for that day. They had Benny Thompson, Liz Cheney come in, everybody sit down. Then they brought Hutchinson in, sat her down. And then when they adjourned for recess, they were like, everybody remain seated so we can get her out and then do your thing. And then everyone can get up and go.
Right.
Yeah.
Pitchfork Dragon says, why is Dragon Daddy forsaken us for Drunkle? Oh.
Because he doesn't care as much about you as I do. And that's really, he just texted me that before the show started. He said, I know, Brett, you love them more than I do. And so they should like you and Francesca more than they like John. That's what he said.
Yeah, exactly. I know that you give them something I could never give them. Drinking at 10 in the morning. Real House Cat says, SCOTUS is the actual successful coup. Thank you for that super chat and that point. I couldn't agree harder. Goodney, would the US response to Britney Griner be different if she were white and male? Yeah.
Nice.
All right. Damage report. Francesca Fiorentini, Brett Erlich. We've got so much more to cover, including this. It's very notable this week that the Supreme Court and the entire country is reeling from their decision to overturn Roe v. Wade in that Dobbs decision. There was a sentence in there somewhere. And it's very notable who is speaking out right now, and it's notable who is not speaking out right now. We know there was an alleged former friend of Ivanka Trump said that she helped her get an abortion in high school. Unverified, but interesting. But we also know ultimately there are a lot of Republican lawmakers who campaign on being so-called pro-life, anti-choice, who make it, one of their biggest platforms, and yet have absolutely in private either paid for, advocated for those in their lives getting abortions, including their mistresses. And that couldn't be clearer than your boy, Representative Scott DeJarlais. I don't care how to pronounce his name.
Desjardins.
Scott Desjardins. Desjardins is a physician and has been very quiet over the past week since the Supreme Court eliminated a woman's right to privacy over her health care. As the Daily Beast recalls, Desjardins is the Republican official whose ex-wife had 2 abortions, and he demanded his mistress to have an abortion as well. Yet he maintains he's 100% pro-life. Now, look, when it comes to between you and anyone that you engage in consensual sex with, that is fine. It is okay to choose to terminate a pregnancy. People do it all the time, especially disproportionately people who are already parents. So I have a lot of empathy and I understand that. However, it's when you talk out of both sides of your mouth, when you do one thing and say another, that's where we're gonna call BS on it. So let's remember Desjardins and this story, this little parable of the hypocrite. In 2012, those rumors began about the affairs the congressman had with coworkers. Oh, fun, coworkers, great. So it's a Me Too case, eh? And patients that were all well documented in his divorce. Okay, sorry. This is when Franny reads things for the first time. So he cheated on his wife with patients. He's a physician.
It's a HIPAA. Don't HIPAA him. This is HIPAA.
This is HIPAA. Oh God.
HIPAA.
Masks are HIPAA, and this is no, it's true. Hey, look. He ultimately fell under an ethics investigation after pressuring a patient to go to Georgia to abort the pregnancy he had caused. Okay, this guy is a massive POS. Came out. The Desjardins had urged his pregnant mistress to get an abortion, a stunning revelation that was caught on tape, and that his ex-wife had 2 abortions herself. Okay, so we don't have the tape, but there is transcript. And so I'm just gonna read some of the back and forth. Here's from that tape between him and his mistress. You told me you would have time to go with me and everything, the woman complains. You assume this is, hey, come with me to terminate your baby. I said if I could, I would, didn't I? And I will try. Desjardins says, if I can find the time, you're saying you still will? Yeah, the woman answers. Well, we've got to do something soon, and you've even got to admit that because the clock is ticking, right? He says at another point, the clock is ticking. They are clearly talking about a pregnancy here, and Brett, he's not even really offering to support her through this decision.
He's horrible. He's a horrible, horrible person. And this is one thing I just really need to get through. As someone who went to Catholic school, went to a Christian preschool, and underwent the most painful and sacrifices of all in the name of religion, a bris. Like, you can still feel morally superior to people in very Christian ways for eternity. and be morally superior to other people for eternity without ruining their lives completely. You don't need to win the abortion legal battle in order to declare you're better than all the sinners who went out there and knocked people up and were like, can we please not have an abortion? That's one thing. Or can we please have an abortion? But this is even worse. And what's worse is we know that this stuff has happened throughout the history of the church itself. There's a story right now about a priest who just jerked off in front of a Starbucks and got arrested. Like, all these people who claim to be holier than thou and part of this religious right movement are themselves wildly hypocritical. And it's not a surprise. We knew this would happen.
We just saw a young woman out her pastor in front of the congregation for having raped her as a kid and continually, like over years, traumatized her. Like but it doesn't actually matter because they're winning. So W is by their names, not by ours.
And here's the difference, right? Is what the Democrats do when they're up for election or whatever is make a lot of promises to people. Like Joe Biden would promise that I'm for universal child care and paid family leave and all these things. He'll make the case to you that that is his ultimate fight. And then when it's time to vote, he'll vote against that, right? It's revealed it's not his ultimate fight and he will vote against it. Now, with the case of Desjardins here, he's vowed to his voters, oh, this is my ultimate fight, is the pro-life fight. I am all pro-life. And then when it's revealed that it is not his actual personally held belief that this is his battle, the difference between Democrats and Republicans is the Republicans still vote for it. They still vote for their base. Why? Because it's free. And they say the Democrats are all about giving away free crap to everybody. The Republicans toss free biblical superiority nonsense and jargon at people that becomes law that ruin people's lives.
Yeah.
That's what I hate the most about it. How did Democrats crack the code? The difference is in this situation, it's going to cost them a lot more monetarily. Like it's going to cost society so much more money outlawing abortion than if you just let it still happen.
Absolutely. And Desjardins better keep it in his pants if he doesn't want to be a dad again. Everyone just go look up a photo of him when you can. Don't be eating anything at the same time. Irresistible guy. Just so you guys know, abortions, Tennessee does have a trigger ban. And abortions at detection of a fetal heartbeat, which can be as early as 6 weeks, if not earlier, before when a lot of people know they're even pregnant, has been banned. Planned Parenthood has just stopped performing abortions in the state of Tennessee. And let's just so you know, Desjardins, this is Graphic 5, campaigned on an anti-abortion policy, proudly called himself 100% anti-abortion. And he's a member of the hard right, of course, House Freedom Caucus. Since June 24th, the day the decision was issued, however, Desjardins has not tweeted about the downfall of abortion rights. In fact, he hasn't tweeted about any subject at all. On his official Facebook page, Desjardins also hasn't posted anything since June 23rd. He is busy figuring out how he can still access abortions for his mistresses / patients that he coerced. And then Ivy Kit Connor on Twitter reminds us about the other pro-lifers that paid for abortions for their partners. Elliot Broidy, who is a former finance chair of the RNC, Scott Lloyd, who is a lawyer and also served as the director for refugee resettlement and a senior advisor to the Center for Faith and Opportunities Initiative. Wonder where they stand on abortion rights. Tim Murphy, former Republican congressman from Pennsylvania. There you got Scott Desjardins and Mark Robinson, current Republican lieutenant governor of North Carolina. There are so many more hypocrites. This is just a small smattering, but it does not matter.
So you got folks like the district attorney of Nashville who are like, I don't care that I'm in Tennessee. I'm not going to bring any, I think it was Nashville. I'm not going to bring any cases against people who have performed or received abortions. I think that same DA needs to do the opposite. for people who brought this into the law and are like, no, I asked God for forgiveness, so I don't want to suffer the consequences. No. Your words, Desjardins, this should be illegal. You did it. We have the audio evidence of it. So we're gonna bring a case. I think the Democratic DAs need to bring, in cities, need to bring these cases against people like this schmucko.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we gotta take our second break. There'll be more on the other side of all your comments. BRB.
Word.
Hey, all right, some new member comments and member old member, new member, it doesn't matter. Billy B. Taylor, thank you so much for joining tier 2 of the damage report. Appreciate that. I don't know what that involves.
It's
but
you,
I feel
buddy.
like John does like a little dance. Is that I thought it was tier 1.
No, I don't know. Maybe it's AMAs with John. I don't know.
It's AMAs with John.
I'll look it up.
AMAs with John. Yeah, exactly. Ask him why he doesn't love you as hard as Brett Erlich.
I don't say John love hard, Bill.
Straw Hat Dragon, thank you for being a member for 6 months at tier 1. It's Friday, everybody. What's up, Frantifa? What up? Another rough week. Oh, Drunkle Dragon is here. Thank you both for keeping us relatively sane. I mean, we're just laughing through the pain mostly. It's just, laugh not to cry used to be a YouTube channel of mine. Quaker Lady, member for 14 months at tier 1. Happy Friday, Fran and Brett. Happy Friday to you. Brickhouse Mama 98, member for 5 months, says, hey, Franny and Brett, let's all just celebrate my birthday on the 4th. I'm turning 42, so I'll be the answer to life, the universe, and everything. Can I get a body autonomy or an indictment as a gift? We will see.
Yes, and we'll throw your party at the restaurant at the end of the universe. Anyways, that's another Douglas Adams reference. Tier 2 members get early access to new TDR videos and the weekly top 10 list, early exclusive access. And tier 3 gets live Q&A with John.
Nice, thank you so much. This guy's name sounds like a male cologne line. Mr. DXZ says on YouTube. Yeah, Desjardins definitely. Like it sounds like a Seinfeld bit that they would do, like Desjardins. Just keep on wanting to say it. Woozle 1967, he's a chode. Yes, he is. Look at his stupid little face. Let's see, Billy B. Taylor, thank you for your super chat. Hi, Auntie MILF Dragon Sitter. Hi, behind the scenes of everything, Dragon. Ola, are you behind the scenes of everything, Dragon?
Yep.
BTS.
BTK.
Any chance you'll cover the San Diego UFO sightings from earlier this week?
I mean, I created Alien B-roll and have since explored every opportunity to use it. There's weird, like low res aliens. There's high res, like motion capture dancing aliens.
You guys always have, you use, every time I do UFO story on TYT, it's always like the dancing aliens on like the road.
Yeah,
and they're all just like.
There's another one where they're doing Gangnam Style. So bad.
They're going to kill us when they find out. I mean, they'll kill us for other reasons, but they'll be like, did you meme us? I think I froze for a second. Let's see, Vanta Dragon won't be celebrating the 4th anymore now that we're slowly losing our freedoms. Fran, Brett, and the Dragon Squad make it better. Love y'all, be safe. Same, yeah, be safe. This is a crap week. Ted Cruz, Wedgie Dragon. Whoa. He could have grabbed the wheel if Secret Service forgot to strap him into his child seat, but come on. They're professionals, so I call BS on her story. Can you imagine just like reaching around Trump to like get his little like harness on?
He's got his sippy cup full of Diet Coke.
Do that again.
Hello, water.
Arms up. Oh God. May Money into Building just sent in a super chat. Thank you so much. Fran the G, I sent them waist beads. They are gorge. I don't know how I'm supposed to do this. Is it because I'm all right, we'll talk about it later. Bye-bye.
I can't with waist beads, man. Kryptonite.
I don't know if they're supposed I think it's because I'm pregnant. Anyway, it's better. All right. More here. Francesca Fiorentini, Brett Erlich here on the damage report. Let's get into this. The Supreme Court continues to dismantle the administrative state, to seize the reins of power that never really was bestowed to them in the first place. That doesn't matter. They're going back on everything they promised in their confirmation hearings, because corporate power and the like. And the next thing that they're taking aim at is voting rights. So the Supreme Court announced on Thursday that it's going to hear a case that could give way more power to states when it comes to holding elections. Now that means that basically the Trumpian power grab that we saw attempted in 2020, that could become a whole lot easier. So the case, Moore versus Harper, involves North Carolina's congressional map, which was drawn by Republican-controlled state legislatures and which the state Supreme Court struck down as racially discriminatory. But in March, SCOTUS rejected requests by Republican officials in North Carolina and Pennsylvania to restore GOP rigged maps in a 6-3 ruling in favor of replacement maps. Seems like maybe a good thing. The North Carolina replacement map was drawn by a nonpartisan panel of experts and gives Republicans and Democrats 6 likely safe seats, while 2 more will be competitive. But at issue is the independent state legislature theory, which the Brennan Center for Justice describes as baseless, a baseless concept making the rounds in conservative legal circles. This theory, thus far dismissed by courts as a fringe constitutional theory, argues that state legislatures have special authority to set federal election rules. States set federal election rules, free from interference from other parts of the state government, such as state courts and governors. This special authority, according to the ISL theory, means that only state legislatures can draw new congressional districts, and any map passed by state judicial system is unconstitutional. So basically legislators are sidelining the judiciary in order to draw these maps. Now, I know a lot of us are thinking, weren't they already doing that? Yeah, but a lot of that, as we saw in North Carolina, was deemed illegal, racially discriminatory. And how can a bunch of partisan hacks, if you have a Republican-controlled state legislature, draw what is supposed to be an even playing field for democracy? They can't, but this independent state legislature theory, which is fringe, but now we've got a fringe Supreme Court, is bubbling back up. So everything fringe this court loves, they live for fringe. Mallory McMorrow on Twitter is clarifying a little bit of what this means. So if the court applies this theory, because Republicans control both legislative houses in 30 states, including swing states like here in Michigan, it allows them, and only them, the ability to choose how an election is decided, run, and what the districts look like. It's just choosing your own voters. If the Supreme Court enshrines ISLT, it means Trump's Republican Party won't need a coup after the election to install him as president in 2024. They can just change the rules in swing states ahead of time to ensure they get the outcome that they want. And again, this is gerrymandering on a federal level. This is gerrymandering for presidential elections, right? When we think of gerrymandering, we think of the House and the ways that those kinds of congressional lines are drawn. This would be everything. Ken Klippenstein, obviously friend of TYT, writes, looks like the Supreme Court is trying to finish what Trump started. And it's true. And honestly, and this is the thing that I feel like, and I hope to get more insight in from the January 6th commission, Brett, but it's like, I think Trump ultimately was saying that he wanted to get this case to go to the Supreme Court, as it did in the year 2000 between Bush and Gore. But he wanted this Supreme Court that he installed to basically hand him the election. And like we've been saying, even these Republicans who say no, the 2020 election wasn't stolen, they are currently enacting these reforms to make sure you can steal an election in the future.
Because this is all the plan, and we talk about when we talk about the gerrymandering having to do with state representatives and your House of Representatives, it's all the same people drawing those maps, and they do it every 10 years as a result of. So there's key moments, and the reason that Brad Raffensperger is like, you can't do it this way,
right?
In part is because they're so close to doing it the other way. Trump wants the quick and dirty way, as as Lindsey Graham admitted to AOC on Twitter, we won a bunch of local races and that allowed us to get this game done. I'm going to show you, I'm going to have my Katie Porter moment about how the state legislatures are the key to everything. Now, I'm going to take you to St. Brennan Center, did a study.
The Brennan Center.
The Brennan Center. So here's 2012, 2016, the percent of the vote that they got in that state and the percent of the seats they ended up with in that state. So in 2012, in states where the Republicans controlled redistricting, this is Republicans draw the lines, here are the results. Their candidates won in 2012, 53% of the vote.
I love this.
Their party got 72% of the seats. The 53% of the people voted for Republicans translates into a super majority. Okay.
Where are we again? Congress?
This is in states in 2012.
Okay.
Where the state legislature, because the state legislature is going to draw the map for everybody. So that's why the Republicans, with a lot of money and a lot of time, because it was at the time 7-2 that they lost Roe versus Wade, and subsequently everything that got overturned this week. They're like, we're going to play the long game. And if we can, in a crucial year following a census, win 53% of the vote, we could turn it into 72% of the seats. That's a super majority. You can do anything, and you only won by 53. This is when they win the majority, because the districts are the same for that decade. In 2016, Republicans won 48% of the seats. Or no, let's see, what's next? In 2016, they won 49% of the seats. They won less than the majority. They should not have half the seats because they didn't get half the votes. But in that year, 55% of the seats. So now democracy is exaggerated here. They still won most of the votes. They got a lot more, but it's exaggerating democracy. This is when democracy is broken. When most of the people want one thing and the other thing happens. Now, we're familiar with this because the Electoral College does the same thing. And all of this is the same dynamic where Republicans get less of the votes, but due to the insane amount of money their corporate interests pour into it to not only convince people to vote corporately, but also to vote biblically, because that's cheap and easy to message.
Yep.
As a result of that, all of democracy is broken. And it comes back to this case here, which will enshrine it completely. This broken system, which is happening this is not 2016, in Wisconsin, Republicans won 45% of the votes in the state legislature, and they currently hold 52% of the seats.
Insane. And that's the other thing is, like, even the advances that Democratic voters make in these what are arguably purple states, they still get represented by Republicans, right? And so, and again, we're sort of taught that, like, no, it's red or blue, it's red or blue, and no, it is. There's way more purple to go around, but there is not the representation to actually have people's voices heard. But this is, anyway, follow it, yay. This is I'm gonna remind you, Moore versus Harper. Moore versus Harper. It's gonna get even uglier, guys. All right, we're gonna need some Mexican mules in the morning. Let's move on because this is very crucial. You remember all that CRT kerfuffle that maybe went away, but not really, and how so many school boards were lobbied by very extremist parents who were worried that their kids' fifis were being hurt by American history and realities of things like slavery. Well, it turns out that a lot of those states are now implementing changes to go along with their fears of critical race theory, from Texas to Florida to Wisconsin, and we're gonna look at 3 of those examples briefly. So public schools in Texas, this is according to a proposal from 9 educators, has not passed yet, but it's a proposal to the state's education board, would characterize slavery as involuntary relocation. Transatlantic slave trade, relocation. So a group of 9 Lone Star State educators on June 15th approached the state Texas Board of Education with a suggested curriculum that would replace slavery with involuntary relocation in certain lessons for 2nd grade students. The tweaked language was featured in a suggested exercise in which students would compare journeys to America, including voluntary Irish immigration and involuntary relocation of African people during colonial times. The suggested curriculum caught the attention of board member Ika Davis, who sent the proposal back for revision. But wait, there's more, and then I'll get Brett to weigh in. In Florida, Ron DeSantis is promoting a new civics education program that actually adds money to it. So hey, if you adopt our new civics education program, you get $3,000, $3,000 bonus. And here is just a little bit of the Department of Education's sort of new civics curriculum. Here's a page that features George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, both notorious slave owners, but being quoted as saying that they wish to see some plan by which slavery in this country may be abolished. The abolition of domestic slavery is a great object of desire in the colonies where it was unhappily introduced in their infant state, which is not really a strong statement. But here they are, and again, these are perhaps their like most benign statements and most hypocritical statements about slavery, even though they themselves, as well as 4 of the 5 presidents that were presidents of the United States, were slave owners. There is more about originalism in Wisconsin. They're not allowed to teach about the internment of Japanese Americans during World War II. Brett, thoughts on this?
Freedom of speech, guys. That's the free speech party wants to make it so you're not allowed to say slavery and 100 other examples. Yeah. They are, and this is indoctrination. This is indoctrination trying to convince you that things that happened didn't. This is way worse than in Florida having a gay teacher have a photo of their husband or wife or whatever on the desk. It is insane. This is one of those things where I just want to show this to Joe Rogan and be like, do you see how this is not a suitable transition from your support of Bernie Sanders to Ron DeSantis?
This is
can't.
Yeah, this is the actual cancel culture. You're literally canceling American history. I mean, you could even make like a racist argument to talk about it, Like if you love the Confederacy so much, talk about what they actually did. Anyway, it's disgusting, and I feel for these kids, but I also know there are like book clubs being begun by young kids to get around the bans that their schools have. So you cannot fool the youth, as we know. And that does it for the Damage Report. We got more on YouTube after this. Welcome back to the Damage Report here on a Friday. I am Francesca Fiorentini with Brett Erlich. Thank you guys for being here.
Thanks for being here.
We're getting through it. May money in the building. Thank you for your waist beads. I think I'm supposed to wear them around my stomach. It feels very like early 2000s, sort of low waist, like Christina Aguilera type. Like I feel like I need little, like blonde dreads to go with that. So we'll see how it works. Thank you though, that's very sweet. Natural One Dragon, fantastic Friday, everyone. Indeed. Arthur Ashbrook says in 1991, when Clarence Thomas was confirmed Democrats had control of the Senate, why do you think 11 of them voted for him when they could have stopped him from being a judge in the first place? Any thoughts?
It was the way it happened. That's what's so frustrating about Lindsey Graham being like, "Yo, we won a bunch of elections." It's like, no, you didn't do it clean. We can pack the court because you guys used the letter of the law to dictate your behavior in search of your goal. That you can expand the court under that. You can change the filibuster rules under that. They invented a rule. It's like, but in the last 10 minutes of the second half, you can't confirm someone. And then they went and changed it again.
Yep.
We get 2 rules to change it, doinks.
Yep. Yeah, no, that's exactly right. You played unfairly and you changed the rules when you didn't like it. You didn't let us play by the legitimate rules. But I mean, this goes, like I would love to do a deeper dive. Obviously, you've got Anita Hill straight up testifying that this dude is a creep. Clarence Thomas confirmed anyway. And I just, I'm like in the morning, this morning, I'm like brushing my teeth being like, damn, Congress really just let Trump sail through 3 effing Supreme Court justices.
They couldn't
sail through.
They need to get back now. Like as soon as Mitch McConnell said we're not going to confirm Merrick Garland, it's like, well, we get to reestablish the balance that would have been.
Yeah.
All right.
No, but it's just incredible to me, like given everything with like Brett Kavanaugh and all the public outcry, the resistance, that ultimately, this is what it is. These are kingmakers and also obstructionists, and we need them to do more. I mean, obviously we need to vote. We do need to change the balance of power, but what's the point if they're not actually gonna even fight? I don't know, delay the hearing a day. I do something, like I would have loved that. I would have loved to seen that. Twitch, I'm sorry I've been ignoring you. Thank you so much, Dragonpool420, for resubscribing on Prime and writing, "Hi guys, your lovable waffle eating scamp here. Just wanted to use my 9-month message to tell everyone that my new favorite Anna quote, I like butt love." Yes, this is a direct quote from Anna. #unicorns and chimichangas or chimichangas. I don't know what those words mean strung together, but I like them all individually and even strung together. And with that, we got to get back up into some stories. So let's get into this. Doctors around the country are actually reporting a surge in requests for a certain type of birth control. No, not Plan B or C, although there is a run on those as well. But on vasectomies for dudes. That's right. According to, one, but hey, important, a urologist, Doug Stein from Florida, a state that did recently ban abortion past 15 weeks, told the Post that he used to get about 4 or 5 vasectomy requests a day. Following the Supreme Court's decision on Friday in Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization, that number has jumped to 12 to 18 requests a day. Many of the guys are saying that they've been thinking about a vasectomy for a while, and the Roe v. Wade decision was just that final factor that tipped them over the edge and made them submit the online registration. Interesting. I have a lot of questions. How old are they? Are they dudes who are like on spring break and we're like, you know what? This is the responsible thing to do. In which case, commend you. They could probably also be, honestly, in the ways that so many people who seek to terminate pregnancies are already parents. I can imagine a lot of these people are parents. These are dads already who are like, things are rough as they are. We can't have 3, 4, 5 kids.
Yeah, no, I think that's got to be what it is. And I want most of the requests for vasectomies to be women requesting them for men.
Yeah, obviously.
Sorry, I made the appointment. It's just go in. It's a quick procedure. It's just a checkup, really, but you will have to be unconscious for a minute. Just go do that. I mean, I don't like this. I don't like this. I get it and I understand it, but I don't like that it's come to this.
Right.
Like this is already ceding territory, and now it's supposed to. It is a smart decision, and it should be more widely entertained as a way to avoid impregnating someone. But my frustration comes with the idea that I doubt this is conservatives who advocate against abortion also requesting vasectomies. This is about controlling women's bodies. This is not about conservative religious men doing the right thing. If they have enough money, they'll get the abortion no matter what, and then double back and beg God for forgiveness or something. And the church will be like, as long as you end up here at the end of the day giving me my tithe, I don't care.
That is absolutely correct. I love I love that thing about religion where it's like when you mess up, you're kind of like always forgiven no matter what. Like I'm sorry. I'm gonna do the same mistake in 5 years, but right now I'm sorry. And then I go to confession and I was like, if there was any consistency, but no, like it breeds, I'm sorry, but a lot of main religions, especially Christianity, breed hypocrites. They love hypocrites and they get forgiven for it when they violate one of their precious commandments that are based on nothing anyway. But anyway, I do think that, when you think about a vasectomy versus an abortion, they're both probably equally as invasive of procedures. I would probably call an abortion even more invasive than a vasectomy, but it's not a nothing procedure, right? It's not using a condom, it's not taking the birth control pill. But it honestly, maybe it's more like putting in an IUD, which can be difficult, costly, can hurt and be painful if it's done improperly, or migrates, which is what I hate when everyone's like, my IUD migrated. I'm like, oh God, ow. But
hopefully south.
Yeah, hopefully out, the way out. But yeah, I mean, I think you're right, Brett, that it's sad because it makes it seem like, we're basically like fighting on their terms. But that being said, our neighbors to the north in Canada, they actually have one of the highest vasectomy rates in the world. Approximately 22% of couples practicing birth control choose vasectomies. And I think, their healthcare is free, right? It is universal. So that actually makes a lot of sense. You get a procedure like that, could be costly for many people. Here you have it offered at either low cost or free. You're gonna take that, and it is cheaper at the end of the day in terms of like, don't have to waste money on birth control. Anyway, a little bit pivot on this. Planned Parenthood had come under fire for supposedly not removing some of the trackers that its website had created in terms of giving information to Google, to TikTok, to other third parties when people were registering for abortion procedures or searching for abortion procedures. Thanks to some efforts from the federal level, but really on Planned Parenthood, they suspended their marketing trackers on all their abortion search pages, as you see here, and that was just yesterday. They were responding to an investigation by an organization called Lockdown Privacy, the maker of an app that blocks online tracking, that found that Planned Parenthood's web scheduler could share information with a variety of third parties, including Google, Facebook, TikTok, and Hotjar, a tracking tool that says it helps companies understand how customers behave. These outside companies receive data, including IP addresses, approximate zip codes, service selections, which privacy experts worry could be valuable to governments looking to prosecute abortions, which again, on the theme of we are fighting on new territory that has been created by an extremist right wing in this country, here you are. We've always known we had to protect our data, but we didn't know how far this could be taken. And we've seen stories of murderers being caught because their GPS was on as they tried to buy shovels and ropes and weird stuff. And you're like, that's good. tracking someone's GPS locations because they were seeking to terminate a pregnancy and decide if and when and how they wanted to be a parent. Bad. This is bad. So there was some public outcry, right? And Planned Parenthood acted accordingly. The other thing I want to say is this Department of Health and Human Services is also instructing basically doctors to say that, look, you are violating HIPAA if you give up your patients who are seeking a termination, who are seeking even regular reproductive health care or have questions. If you give them up to police, law enforcement, state legislators, whoever, that's a violation. So look, Brett, this is happening at the same time that Planned Parenthood in places like Tennessee and Montana and other states that have these trigger ban laws are kind of throwing up their hands, and they're like, we don't want lawsuits, so we're gonna stop doing abortions anyway. I mean, they're doing some stuff right, but I also feel like Planned Parenthood, I would have expected them to fight a little bit harder on some of these fronts.
Yeah, you can still put pressure on them to fight harder. I think there's a lot of places where folks need to fight harder, sadly. And unfortunately, the ones that they've elected to fight for them aren't doing the job.
Yeah. I wanna pivot. Everything's a pivot because I'm a comic and I pivot, and these are news stories, and that's how the news is done.
Well done, flawless pivot.
So good.
Most people didn't even notice you were doing that.
No, not at all. If I say pivot enough, people don't know it's a pivot. Anyway, so there is an update in a very old case. That is the case of Emmett Till, who was 14 years old when he was accused of disrespecting a white woman in the year 1955. And then he was abducted, tortured, and lynched. His family at the time decided to have an open casket funeral so that the world could see and the nation could see the ways that young Black men and Black Americans were treated on a daily basis. In that time, a justice system was even more racist than it is today, although we are still living with those legacies, and lynchings happened. Instead of actually awaiting any kind of trial, no, a mob would actually just kill somebody. However, there is an update because a team searching in a Mississippi courthouse basement, again, Mississippi is where this all took place in 1955. They were searching for evidence about the lynching of the Black teenager Emmett Till, and they found an unserved warrant charging a white woman in his kidnapping. And relatives of the victims want now authorities to finally arrest her nearly 70 years later. Damn. Now, I didn't know that there were other villainous women in this story, but hey, yay, representation, hashtag lean in. This is a woman who was involved in the abduction, again, not the woman who accused him of disrespecting her. So the search group were members of what's called the Emmett Till Legacy Foundation, and that include two of Till's relatives. So cousin Deborah Watts, head of the foundation, and her daughter, Terry Watts. Relatives want authorities to use the warrant to arrest Don Ham, who is this woman, who at the time of the slaying was married to one of the two white men and acquitted just weeks after Till was abducted from a relative's home, killed and dumped in a river. Quote, serve and charge her, Terry Watts says. The arrest warrant against Don Ham was publicized at the time, but the LaFour County Sheriff told reporters that he didn't want to bother the woman since she had two young kids to care for. Funny how that works out in her favor. So this had been sitting in a basement for decades. And finally, they found this, and they are like, we want her to be served. Where's Don Ham? Brett, before I kick it to you, she's in her 80s. She's still alive. Most recently living in North Carolina. She's not commented publicly on her calls for her prosecution, but Terry Watts, again, this is a family member of Emmett Till, said the Till family believes the warrant accusing Don Ham of kidnapping amounts to new evidence. You know, never say never, justice is long. It is, and we know the amount of evidence that so many police and prosecutors are sitting on. And this case was a landmark case. and did help propel the civil rights movement and galvanize so many. Brett, 80-year-old woman, helped deliver this young kid to her vicious husband who killed him. Thoughts?
And they didn't want to bother her because she had to raise the killer's kids.
Yeah.
Her husband. Like, this is one of those, do we care yet? Does anyone care yet? And I also wonder, like, has she been thinking about this her whole life, or has she moved on? Was she like, I got away with it? As her kids surpassed the age Emmett Till was, did she say, oh wow, I abetted and participated in a kidnapping, allegedly, of a kid, which we all knew was gonna get lynched and tortured before that? Did she care? I wanna know. The warrant's gonna help us. If you serve that, it'll help us come to the end of it and find out.
Right, and it just makes you think about, like, nowadays in the year 2022, that Black Americans who are accessories to any kind of violence or crime, there's no leniency. There's no they have kids. That's not a. This woman wasn't even served. She wasn't even charged with anything. Because it was like, no, but she's got kids, so we can't. What are we gonna do? The number of people, Black and brown Americans in this country who have kids and they are currently locked up or somehow entangled in the criminal justice system for, I don't know, nonviolent possession of marijuana, to name one thing. So I just, hats off to this family for not giving up this search. And I am very curious on how this all plays out and whether an 80-year-old lady is gonna get served one day. But we gotta talk about our garbage people, y'all. As you know, as I'm trying to learn on this show, there is only one garbage person a week. Now, I have deep qualms with only selecting a garbage person for the week. I think there should be at least 10 to 12 in this day and age, or 9 or 6 if you're talking about the Supreme Court. But here it is. Here is the garbage person of the week. Thank you, Brad. I'm supposed to say we're taking out the trash, so pretend I did say that. You guys, it's been a long week, y'all. Give me a goddamn break.
She's done like 3 times as many things as you've seen her do for TYT this week. So everybody just, all right, my garbage person of the week. Let's put up her damn picture. This is Susan Delamis. She is a New Hampshire state representative. She had an abortion in the 80s. She still feels bad about it, but rather than go to therapy, she chose to do this to protesters after the leak of the Roe versus Wade decision. Shame on her. You can't ruin others people's lives because you feel bad about what you did.
Yep.
Mend your relationship with God, apologize, repent, whatever you need to do. But I think your state provided health insurance with your state representative job should have some mental health carve out, because you're unhinged, lady. You've got a problem with a decision you made in the 80s, lady.
Not only, and this is what I will say, I think that her own personal decision, it's like, yeah, sorry, the state still doesn't get to say when that you should be forced to carry your birth to term. But let me just say this, as hard as a decision as it might be for some, although not all, to decide to terminate a pregnancy, it is the easiest position to, after you have terminated a pregnancy, turn around and wield that against other people seeking to do the same thing. The easiest position. Why? Well, because you didn't have to raise a kid that you didn't want. You weren't strapped economically, financially, or in an emotionally difficult situation. Like, everything about that position is easy. I'm so sorry. Like, lady, you didn't have to live with the consequences, so why should anyone else?
Yeah, go to jail. Just go to a jail and live there. Quit
Take
your
yourself to
job.
jail.
Go lock yourself up. Or
you're a murderer.
Yeah, if you killed someone, if this were Edo, Japan, you would have to harakiri yourself. I'm just saying, like, where's your money? Where's your mouth, lady? That's my garbage person.
That is a good garbage person. My garbage person was going to be the couples that say, we'll adopt your baby. But I have to side with a hat tip to the community who also, I believe, agreed with me. Clarence Thomas, once again, I mean, garbage, utter trash. Leading this charge for sure. Sure, Alito wrote the decision on Dobbs, but Clarence Thomas was the one to go even further to say, no, we're gonna overturn literally everything. Gay marriage, contraception, interracial marriage, maybe once, I cut Ginny loose. But Clarence Thomas is the absolute worst. This week, he was peddling the idea that the COVID-19 vaccine was made up of aborted children. No, it's not. It's not made up of aborted children. That being said, I do want to tip my hat to the fact that vaccines are developed thanks to old, long ago cells derived from elected, meaning by choice, abortions, and that have given us things like the cure, the vaccine for rubella, the vaccine for chickenpox, a lot of other vaccines. It's almost like it's a good thing. It's almost like you can take something that might otherwise be not great, terminating a pregnancy, make it amazing. I say, hell, if you want to say it's made of aborted children, why not? No, but it's not. So stupid. I hate Clarence Thomas. He's got more work to do. I wish him nothing but sickness. I'm sorry. And he was actually ill recently. Why couldn't he have stayed there? Let's put up the poll. You guys decided, was it Brett Kavanaugh? We just put up a bunch of Supreme Court justices, right? Is it Alito? Is it Barrett, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh? Nuts. It's Clarence. It's Clarence Thomas.
What happened? What happened to you, Clarence? What happened that you, according to people's testimony or people's allegations, he just said he's going to make liberals' lives hell.
Yeah.
So that seems like he has animus against someone because of their political beliefs, and he should recuse himself from everything. Actually, he should resign. I think there's a good case for impeachment because he doesn't recuse himself from these things.
Who's going to lead the charge to impeach? I mean, this is the thing. We're on vote harder. That's where Democrats are. But the case for impeaching Thomas on what Ginny alone was doing, texting Mark Meadows during the January 6th like riots or in the lead up to them, that alone is grounds. Not to mention the dark money, receiving money, from dark money groups. I'm clearly fried.
You only have to present one more show today.
I know. I'm going to be on the main show. It's going to be great. But in the meantime, you're all great. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sticking with for this entire week. Brett Erlich, you got Game Busters tonight and Happy Half Hour on what, Thursdays?
Happy Half Hours on Wednesday. So it's Indisputable Now, followed by Galaxy Brain with Ben Carolla, who destroyed Charlie Kirk. Just look at Toilet Paper USA's subreddit. You can watch him serve Charlie Kirk. It's fantastic. So check that out. Twitch.tv/TYT at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern today.
Amazing. So excited. Thank you for joining me. And thank you everyone out there. And remember, stay safe, stay sane, and slay out there. Beyonce's got a new album. I hope it saves us all. Goodbye.